from the port of Spain, Trinidad.
My name is Dwayne Hinds. I'm a retired mixed martial artist, certified in ONE FC and second largest promotion in the world.
Your resume is unbelievable. Pro boxing record of 3-1. You've got multiple black belts as well. You've trained with Valentina Shevchenko, Darren Till, Petr Yan, Alexander Volkanovski. Fairly well known, but like, how come you're not like up there, man? Is there like a singular thing that made you think I want to do MMA?
I was in a bad breakup. I got reckless, started drinking. I got to do something constructive to get this. And one of my buddies did judo. He had a MMA fight. So we went and watched him fight, and he like destroyed the dude, choked him out. I'm like, I could do that. I'm going to give that a shot.
What kind of advice would you give to fighters coming up the ranks now?
The most heartbreaking thing about this journey is
This is Dwayne Hinds.
You're watching Calfkicksports podcast.
We're gonna obviously have a bit of a serious conversation. We're gonna talk about your life a little bit. You know, a lot of our viewers aren't aware of yourself, and you've lived a fantastic life. But this is something that I know you're very interested in. Jake Paul or Mike Tyson, man?
Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. My perspective shift a few times on it. I really tried to analyze it objectively. So first, initially, I thought it's a win-win for Mike Tyson, and I thought it was a lose-lose for Jake Paul. I was thinking win-win for Mike Tyson. He wins the fight. As his legend, he gets a big payday regardless. All right, so it's a win-win. He keeps his brand out there. He keeps his name out there. He keeps the hype out there around his name. I'm sure it's going to help his podcast viewership. I'm sure it's going to help all of his products. For Jake Paul, initially, I thought lose-lose. I thought you beat a 57-year-old man, you know what I mean? You lose. You know what I mean? You lose to a 57-year-old man, you lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I thought of it objectively. I'm like, he's gonna get paid big bucks, all right? So regardless, you're getting paid big bucks, all right? But then I thought of it this way. I was like, in 10 years from now, no one's gonna care about Jake Paul, all right? No one's gonna care once he rides out his fame or whatever. But at the end of it, would I love to spar with Mike Tyson, to say I got to spar against a legend, one of my heroes? Yes. You know what I mean? So for him, at the end of the day, he's getting to step in the ring with a legend, Mike Tyson, win, lose, or draw, and throw down with him, all right? Even though he's 57, he's going to be able to tell his kids, his grandkids, hell, I got in the ring with Iron Mike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you look at it that way, objectively, it's like, you know what I mean? I would do it for free. He's getting to do it for millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Like I said, right now, people might be bashing him, but 10 years from now, he still has it. And he gets to smile, look back, and reflect. I got the opportunity through my lifetime, starting off as a YouTuber, built my career as a boxer, and now got in the ring with a legend like Iron Mike. All right. So yeah. I think both guys win. I think it's a great thing for the sport. The only people who are really hating on it's the purists, you know what I mean? People who are like really deep into boxing. And for them, they're not going anywhere. They love the sport. They have a lot of good fights coming up this year. I mean, but for everybody else who just don't know that much about the sport, but they know Iron Mike, a chance to see him again. You know what I mean? For the younger kids, they'll go back. Some of them might go back and look at his highlights and be like, "Wow," I might get inspired to maybe give boxing a try. For the older heads, you know what I mean? They might be like, "Well, Iron Mike's getting back in there. Maybe I can go hit the bag again," or maybe, you know what I mean? So I think overall it's a win-win for the sport. When I look at it objectively and not as like a purist, this is unfair advantage. Just like overall the bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, the distasteful thing is, and I kind of tend to agree with this, it's like Jake Paul is in his prime. You know, he's a 26-year-old man, or 27, however old he is. And, you know, there's always question marks about how clean he is. You know, is he going into this a little bit juiced up? You know, Mike Tyson is probably juiced up, but the difference is there's 30 years of age. And a lot of boxers are like, what the hell, man? Like, I couldn't never envisage me kind of knocking out Mike Tyson. You know, he's a legend. But I get it from the perspective of Jake Paul, man. He's a businessman at the end of the day, no?
Exactly, right? And again, it's an exhibition match. I don't like you saw him in his last fight against you know, he's done, all right? You know what I mean? But he has 1 or 2, 3 chances where he might give it a shot. And if he does pull it off, if he does win, even the purists are gonna feel a bit of pride and joy, you know what I mean? Knowing that the legend took him out, you know what I mean? And if he does
Definitely.
win, and 6 months from now, a year from now, he'll have a next fight coming up, and we're back to he's playing his villain role, and we want to see him lose again, all right? So, you know, and overall, it's awesome for the sport, right? Like we have a great villain, and we have our legend hero. You know what I mean? A clash of ages of titans. It's a great hype, great build up, and great for the media. And so overall, I'm putting boxing in the spotlight again.
100%, man, 100%. But look, Dwayne, I want to get into the crux of this conversation. Yeah, you've lived a fantastic, amazing life. You know, I'm not going to read every single kind of bit of your resume is unbelievable. I mean, I'm just going to read a few of it. High school district wrestling champ. You've got a pro boxing record of 3-1. I find that fantastic. Sambo champion. Only after training Sambo for a very limited amount of time, I believe 18 months. You've got multiple black belts as well. You've trained with, you know, Valentina Shevchenko, Darren Till, Petr Yan, Alexander Volkanovski. List goes on. You've even trained, yeah, with a few of our guests, Jasmine Jazavidius and Sam Alvey as well. You know, like you're still fairly well known, but like, how come you're not like up there, man?
I started late in my career. I started at 25, actually
Okay.
getting into MMA. And then coming out of the Caribbean, not people knew me as much. Then I finally got into ONE FC, got a contract with them. I beat Gideon Ray. He was a former UFC fighter. He was on the Ultimate Fighter as well. Mike Wade, he was top 100. When I beat him, that's what kind of got me my contract. I guess it was just never like. And then when I finally got to the big leagues, I just got one fight. I always said I started late. I always said I just wanted one fight in the UFC. I got one fight in ONE FC, and I was 33. I was still living in gym. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids, but I felt like I was in the prime of my career. And I always say, "What if?" You know, like, what if I continue? Because comparing myself with people like Petr Yan was just coming up, and Valentina and Alexander Volkanovski, and just standing like where I was compared to them. I think if I wrote it out, I think I'd have probably made it a lot further. But I was content with my career. I was really just I wanted to move on. And it was just a natural call in. Like everyone else around me in the gym was like 18, 19, 20. I was 33. And I became more of like the coach head. And I really wanted to get married, have kids. And I just, that last fight was just everything, Murphy's Law, everything that could have wrong. I got something we call chikungunya, which is like pneumonia on crack, right? Like 2 weeks before the fight. I was puking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I was all the guys I flew in for camp where I was supposed to fight a karate guy from England. All the guys I flew in to fight the camp were all stand-up guys, karate guys. They switched it to Christoph like 2 weeks before, and he's like a world-class judoka. And the technique he beat me with, the front headlock, was my nemesis my entire career, even as a wrestler. And so everything, then jet lag happened, and then my coach was snoring all night. Like it was like everything was just like I was like, all right, this ride sucked. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm not having fun anymore. You know what I mean? And for me, it was just like once you stop having fun and you start enjoying it, maybe, and then my age, everything, it was just like, all right. And I really did want to get married and start a family. That was deep in my heart. It's like that's where I was. I used to drive down the street thinking of omoplatas and triangles. Instead, I'm thinking down the street of like, is it do I want to have a boy first or a girl? What I gonna? So I did mind shift. My shift just naturally transitioned. You know what I mean? And that was it. But yeah, man, like it was the greatest ride I could ever think of. I wouldn't change it anything for the world. I did marry the girl of my dreams. We have 2 beautiful kids, and everything worked out. Like I love my life. So yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you got to tell the viewers about that story about how you met your wife. I found that's it's a great story.
Yeah, so my wife, I remember we were both models, like 'cause my physique, Trinidad Carnival is really big, so we would do like I get called up to do carnivals. For me, it's just fast cash, right? Like everybody else would be there drinking, socializing. And for me, I was thinking like again, triangles, omoplata. How do I set up that cross or that leg kick? I just be in my own zone on my phone watching fights while everybody else is doing their thing. And then I saw this girl and I opened the door for her. And she's like, she was there when I know she went in the corner and started reading a book. And that kind of like caught my attention. Everybody else, like I said, it was a big social thing, right? Like all the good looking people, great physiques, drinking, hanging out. and they're gonna go party after and everything. And she's reading the book, and I'm reaching there watching fights. So it caught my attention. I asked one of the other makeup artists, I'm like, "Who is this girl?" They told me her name. I ended up reaching out to her online, and like I tried for like 2 years. I would just keep, happy birthday, hey, let's go out for a drink. I got rejected for like 2 years in a row because she had a boyfriend, which made me more attracted to her. The fact that she was loyal and like she was polite about it. I mean, and she was on a big sign, a big billboard. Like we drive by, and I told my friends, "Yo, if I ever got a chance with this girl, I'm gonna marry her." And eventually, my fifth fight, I was 5-0. I was fighting Williams. I forgot his first name now, but yeah, he was also like 5-0, wrestling background, and she was the ring girl for the fight. And the first time I put someone to sleep clean, triangle choke, put him out, knocked him out cold. Top of the world, and I mean, all my friends, family there. It was like the first big event in Trinidad. Like literally, like I was like a pioneer for the sport, and people just started like I helped the sport just take off. And afterwards, I'm like, "Hey, can I at least walk you to your car?" And she's like, "Yeah, walk you to her car." And I'm like, "Can I get your number?" It's like my 10th time asking, and she finally said yes. When my friend was like, "Yeah, her and her boyfriend broke up," I'm just like, "Yeah!" I just won the biggest fight of my career. Got her phone number. We ended up going out that week, and then I mean, we dated for like 6-7 years. Then we got married. Now we're married for like 6-7 years, and we have 2 kids. And so, yeah, it worked out perfect.
That's awesome. You had to be the supportive boyfriend, supportive friend, isn't it? Oh, you broke up with your boyfriend. That's so sad.
No, but
That's good to
actually, like,
know.
I still tease her about it. It's like I played I was like, I'm not gonna mess this up. So I played the card slow. We actually first real date went to like a Damian Marley concert. And I would have general tickets,
Oh,
but she said she's calling me, so I
lovely.
upgraded to like platinum VIP. And I always remember she kissed me first, and I always reminded that because I didn't want to make the first move. I was like, I'm gonna be patient. I want to do it slow. I don't want to be the rebound reject. I'm in this for the long game, and like I still remind them, like, you kissed me first, you remember?
Yeah, that's always a good sign. Do you feel like here's a quick question, yeah, because I've just thought about this now. With ring girls, do you feel like they're so used to seeing knockouts and submissions and just kind of, the alpha male mentality of getting the finish, it's not really that impressive to them? Is
Well,
that the case? Or is it different?
Trinidad it is, right? You gotta look at the location, right? It's like
Yeah.
that was probably the third event they've actually MMA event that wasn't like I started fighting. We were doing it in a barnyard, like old school movie, right? Literally like
Yeah.
on fucking hard surface and just like old school Van Damme movie style, right? And that was like when it really like it was a real event where it was like sold out. Like 2,000 people maybe. I mean, a small venue, a real legit cage. So it's like the first time I think it was like taken to the next level where like people realize this is like a legit sport and not just violence, right? Like so,
Yeah.
and she was the ring girl for it. So I think that was the first exposure they had of it. And then I rode that out like 2-3 fights. I fought for Cuff Caribbean Ultimate Fist Fighting where the events sold out, right? Because like I kind of built a name for myself, and they were bringing down good quality fighters for me to fight, right? As I got better, the level got better, and we just rose together, right? And I ended up using that after I beat Gideon Ray, then I fought Mike Wade, and then that got me my big contract, right?
Yeah. Were you ever, so you went to ONE FC, and I believe this was, well, obviously 2015. This is before the grounded kind of knees. I think before the grounded stomps rule. They had soccer kicks for a while.
I should have. Reflecting back on that fight, there was opportunities where it's one moment like he was on his knees. I should just blasted him with a head kick. But like I said, that whole camp, I was training to fight a karate. I didn't know grappling. I'm like, I expected to just out grapple this guy had like easy, right? I just brought in all strikers to close the distance, stand. And the last 2 weeks it's flipped where like I want to keep it standing, right? And then it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't look back and regret, man. That's the main thing. But
Yeah,
it is what it, well, you were a pioneer, man. You're a pioneer in your own country, Trinidad. One of the first few fighters. Was that a lot of pressure, kind of, getting into the sport? And people probably don't even understand what the fuck MMA is.
Yeah, it was hard. We didn't even have a blue belt in BJJ in the country.
Really? Not even a blue belt? That's
Not even a blue belt. All right. So everything was just self-taught. It was just my first striking art for almost 2 years was Krav Maga. I tell you how bad it was, all right? First time I stepped in, first time when I got stepped into like a legit Muay Thai gym when I went to England, I just got fucking destroyed. I'm like, I just wasted 2 years of my life.
Hey, before I forget, Krav Maga, I did Krav Maga for a while, and I thought it was so stupid because there was one technique we had to do. We had to run around the room, and tap each other on the head, and they're like, "What the fuck am I doing?"
Yeah, but for me, I'm just like, I wasn't a striker, so I was just like blasting the pad. Like, if I do this to anyone, they can't stop me. I'll be unstoppable. You know what I mean? And then, yeah. And then I realized like how dumb it was. My first time I got in boxing, I got completely tagged up. I'm like, I just wasted all my time. But you know what I mean? The guys I was training with, we all learned together, right? We were all YouTubers, and luckily YouTube was around by then, so we just like we can just watch fights and just simulate. Like I always tell people, we duplicate that innovate, right? So it was just like GSP was my hero, so I just copied a lot of his stuff, and I mean, and we got really good, right? I went to Caribbean Ultimate West Indies Fighting Championships, my first like grappling tournament outside, and I faced Fabricio Nobels. He was a black belt, and I mean, I didn't know any of these guys. I didn't care. I mean, I was just like, dude, I would compete with anybody. Anybody, any day. All right, I'm here to learn, get better. And I beat both these guys. I won my division. I won the absolute division, and these guys are both black belts. And afterwards, everyone was coming up to me and was like, "Hey, how'd you beat those guys? Or how'd you do it? Blah, blah, where do you train?" I'm like, dude, YouTube. And just like I'm training with my buddies, and like I had a strong wrestling background, right? So I was comfortable on the ground. I was just learning new moves, and I can watch because I understood the ground. I can watch a technique and comprehend what happened, right? Where the hand placement was, where the pressure was, right? So that made it significantly easier for me, right? And then I did judo, and I won national championships from that before I got into MMA. So I got an understanding of basics, arm bars, stuff like with the gi on, and then it was just transitioning without gi, right? So, yeah.
That's honestly just an incredible background, like just so much experience. And you know, from our last kind of conversation, you mentioned that you focus more on people that aren't really kind of ultra competitive pros or anything like that. It's more for people that are training. You know, they use it as a lifestyle, but they're not necessarily going pro. Why is that? Because I feel like, you know, if you get with your experience, you can get a massive or really strong stable.
Now I do, right?
Now you do. Okay.
Earlier on, like Joe Ash Walkins, he was like my training partner. He should be fighting in the UFC. Honestly, he's like been trained all around the world with some best in the world. He's 16-1 pro, and he is legit as you get. He fights at 135, 145, 155. He takes whatever fights he can get. He's a bulldog, right? He was a Sambo World Championship silver medalist out of Japan. Like, he compete with the best in the world. He should be in the UFC. Visa problems and problems traveling is why he's the only reason I don't think he's gotten like a massive contract right now. But it's scary because COVID took away 2 years of his career, and he's now 33. So I'm a little worried for him. But legit, like, he can compete with the best out in the world out there. Like, he should be competing in the world. But now I transitioned because I have 2 young kids, right? Like, working with competitive athletes, right? The time for travel, and watching fight videos, going with sparring, and then the emotional roller coaster that you got to take them on, right? Like, I was there. I mean, the highs and lows of a training camp, you know what I mean? We are some of the most, we're badasses, but we're some of the most emotional people, right? Like, we're so hyper competitive, right? Keeping them calm, making sure they're not overtraining, making sure they're training enough, making sure they're doing their cardio work, their strength work, right? Their nutrition's on point. It's just so much work, right? And when I do it, I'm all in, right? I commit to my athletes, you know what I mean? So now I just work with recreational athletes for now until my kids get older, because the most important thing for me right now is being home with my kids. Between ages 1 to 4, they need you the most, right? So for now, I'm just trying to just work with, so I don't have to worry about all the extra stuff, right? Just go to work and work with them, make sure they have a good time, build their confidence, get a little bit better, get stronger, get fitter. But then they go home, I go home with my kids, and we can go our ways, and right. But so that's why I'm working with recreational athletes now, and why I've been focused on them now for the last almost 4 years, until my second one gets to 4. then I'll start slowly transitioning back to more competitive athletes and the competitive stuff. And that's why I do the old timer series to still stay connected with my competitive athletes, still share what I know, share what I know. I mean, and give it out there because I do miss it, but I just know where my priority is needed most right now, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, moving on to that actually, because I thought the series is brilliant. I've watched multiple videos now. There was some videos I actually didn't expect to get quite emotional. Honestly, I was like watching it. I'm like, damn, like what are you doing to me, Dwayne? I was like, well, but yeah, there was one in particular, and I wanted to ask you about this. Like, was this the kind of reason why we're all here today? Like, in terms of why you are a martial artist, and you know why your journey took the way it did, because the childhood you had was quite, it was quite a rough childhood, like, just to be frank with yourself. So your dad, I think you mentioned in that reel itself, your dad was
No, he was diagnosed with
sorry,
schizophrenia.
schizophrenia, and your mum had to kind of raise all of you together on her own as well. Was it kind of hard to find your own identity when you're like a young child, because you have quite a few brothers as well?
Yeah, and it was a wild ride, man. It was crazy, but it made me who I am today. So in a way, like I obviously my dad getting sick, I would change that part of it. Watching like your hero go from, because he was a great dad, right? Like he was a great man. Like at least what I can remember, the little memories, 4 years old. And then within 6 months, he went from being my dad to someone I didn't know. You know what I mean? So mental health, mental disease. Like sometimes you gotta look people on the streets and stuff and realize like it really isn't their fault, right? Like schizophrenia is like a real thing. And yeah, then the challenges began, and then my mom was just like a house mom, right? She didn't have any working skills. So then it began, right? We were moving all the time between living with aunts and uncles, grandparents, and then yeah, it wasn't until I got to high school that my aunt and uncle in New Jersey, they said I'd come live with them. And that's when yeah, the whole story with my wrestling career began, right? Like
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, Christmas Eve, actually basketball, I was really good at basketball. I was always a good athlete, right? Like I spent a lot of my time, like I crushed it on the soccer field my freshman year. I got called up to varsity, led the team in scoring, and then I was like, I'm gonna go out for basketball. I was a really good basketball player. Right? I spent all my time like if I would like just how I vented, right? I spent all my time on sports, and I was a good athlete. So I got really good at basketball, but I never played official basketball. My parents, because of my upbringing, we didn't have a program. I just played street ball, right? And I was really good. Right? I mean, I was really good. And when I got into the high school team, I went out for the team, and like I didn't know the drills and the crisscross because I never played that official. I knew pass me the ball, how to dribble, and how to screen, and like how to play street ball, but because I didn't know the drill, like, and to be honest, like it was a 1 mile hick town in New Jersey, right? Like I was like one of the black kids in school, right? Like so I'm not sure if he had something against me or whatever, but I just felt like he was always on my back, always picking on me, like because I didn't know the official terms, and like he kind of like pushed me away, right, like, from the sport. So I'm like, screw this, man, and like one of the kids called me the N word on the team, and like I was just like, you know what, I'm out of here, man. Like so, and then anyway, I went home, and then Christmas Eve, my aunt comes upstairs and like, hey, your wrestling coach is at the door. I'm just like, wrestling coach? I don't have a wrestling coach. I went to sleep. Before I could close my eyes, man, this guy was sitting on my bed, and he's like, hey, I heard you're a good athlete. You should come out for the team. We need someone to wrestle 112. I'm like, wrestling? Is that like WWF? It's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, something like that. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, all right, I guess I'll try it. So I went out. 2 weeks later, wrestled my first match on varsity, won, and I puked afterwards. Like it was like the hardest thing I've ever did in my entire life, but I won. Like it was like being in a fight without punching and kicking. So I was just like, wow. But I watched the senior guys go out there, and I saw how dominant they were and how respected they were. Everyone respected these guys, the football players, everybody. Like they were like the toughest guys in the school, right? And but then I lost 14 matches in a row, and I quit after every one. My wrestling coach was he was persistent, man. Like literally, he would take me out of class, take me to the gym, All right, lift weights, but then teach me about nutrition, teach me about lifting weights, about toughness, about discipline, about self-respect, about life. You know what I mean? Like I'll be walking down the street after I quit again. You pull up with his car, I'd be like, jump in, we'll just drive around. He just talk to me about life and about like, I'll just like, if I don't give up, the person I'm going to become, like, it's not even about the wins and loss, the person I'm going to become just by sticking this through. It's how you're going to be unbreakable, right? And then get better every year. And like literally summer times, like we break into school together. Like we're literally breaking into school.
you and your coach.
Yep. And we would just go in there and drill. He took me all around the state to some of the best camps. You know what I mean? And
how old were you at the time, Dwayne? When you
this was between 14 and 17.
God. You know something, that could look very creepy.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't, right? It wasn't.
Yeah, obviously,
it could, but I was also tough. I wouldn't let anything like that. Like,
as in, like a coach and a student breaking into a school. It's like, why you guys do?
Yeah, we went to the wrestling match. We would go there. We thought the school should be open, right? Like, and then it wasn't. So we broke into the match. We turn on the lights, and we get to work, right? And before you know it, we had other people joining us, say like, "Yo, you guys, we were at the gym last night. Hey, can I come?" And like, so other people will come and join us at the gym, and he took me all around the state to some of the best camps, places I would never be able to afford to go to. You know what I mean? And just like my senior year, I was captain of the team, broke the school record for pins, his record. He held for like 30 years. Gone to the Hall of Fame, was district MVP. And the rest is history. Right? We used all those skills to go on and pursue, and I was always into combat sports after that.
What would you say that kind of? I know your coach was extremely motivating, and he wouldn't give up on you, even when you wanted to give up on yourself. But what kind of spurred you to keep going? Because if you really wanted to, you'd be like, "Look, I'm definitely not doing this anymore. I'm finished."
His persistence, and then I guess I didn't really want to quit. I just so competitive. I wanted to be the best. I hated losing. Yeah, and sucking for so long, and it's not just sucking, but the way in wrestling, like you going. It's not like you go on a soccer field, or basketball court, and the team loses, right? You're stepping in front of the mats in front of your entire school, getting tossed around like a rag doll. Every next day at school, people are gonna be laughing at you. Right? Oh, did that hurt? That hurt? Oh, dude, he tossed you big. He carried you across the mat, slammed you down. It's like. So it was more just like I was like my ego was hurting more than it was like losing. But but winning on the just like that, just like MMA, the highs and lows. When you win, right, it's the best feeling in the world, especially a big match, right? When you have guys from all over the state coming because it's you with a big record against a guy next big record, and they know they get a clash later. So in wrestling, New Jersey wrestling is huge. Like New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, that tri-state area wrestling is like. It compares to football, you know what I mean? Like it's right up there. Like they produce the best wrestlers in the country. So you have the tri-state area, then you have Ohio and California. Those are the big five, right? If you don't come, like all the great wrestlers come from those areas, all right? Florida now started to creep in there a bit, but so for us, like you have like it wasn't just a wrestling match, but you have like everyone from around the state coming to watch you wrestle and big matches and they sell out arenas for states, you know what I mean? So it was more my ego hurting and I just couldn't take the losses, but he knew I wanted to get really good and he can see that I had the talent. I just didn't, like everything else, I just didn't put in the time yet, right? I started as a freshman. These kids start wrestling when they're 5, 6 years old, right? It's like their life, right? They go to tournaments. But like it said, it's the best thing I ever did, like him sticking on me. Because if I didn't have that, like I'm sure when I ended my MMA career, if I had him when I retired, he would have probably told me, "Yo, grind through 2 more years, and then you can have the kids," right? But I didn't have that, right? It was just like Trinidad, we were our own coaches, you know what I mean? We didn't have that head coach like we had back then.
Would you ever like? I mean, obviously, this is after your kids have kind of grown up a little bit. Would you ever like to be part of the first Trinidadian UFC champion or something like that?
Yeah, 100%. Like I have big dreams, big aspirations, but I'm going to get back into working with competitive athletes once my kids are older. Who knows? Might be my own kids.
Yeah,
So,
They mention anything? They go, yeah, Dad, I want to be a.
for them, I just keep it playful, right? They're 1-4. The 4-year-old, we wrestle all the
yeah.
time. We wrestle, and like I make sure, like if he's trying to stand up, if he tries to gives up his back, I take his back, so I make sure he can do a technical get up without me showing him the details, like just because I forced him to do it. Otherwise, I'll keep him down, keep him down. He can ride back, he can get hooks, he knows seatbelt, but he knows it just through play, not like the technicalities. And I also have seen so many kids burn out early. I mean, I'm gonna do about like what's his name? The Ukraine box Valdez Shevchenko, not Shevchenko.
Lomachenko.
Lomachenko, right? His dad would he had to beg his dad, right? So my kid's gonna do ballet, he's gonna do dance, he's gonna do gymnastics, right? And I want him to beg me, right, to have to fight and not me push him in that direction, right? But in the meantime, I'm gonna develop all the skills that's gonna carry over if he ever does decide like he wants to do it.
Yeah, 100%. You can't force a kid to live your dream. I mean, you can, but you know. And so you've been involved in the sport for such a long time. Is there like a singular thing that made you think I want to do MMA? I want to start fighting people. I want to put people to sleep. You know, I want to do that. What made you do that? What made you think that?
The transition happened for me is after I got out of college and I moved back to Trinidad, and I was in a bad breakup. Honestly, I was in a bad breakup. First serious relationship, girl cheated on me, and I got reckless. Like I handled it terribly. I started drinking, and I'm like, yo, I gotta do something more. I gotta do something constructive to get this. And one of my buddies did judo. So I was watching judo with him online. I'm like, that looks exactly like wrestling, except you're wearing that gi. So I went out to judo and we did judo. And 6 months later, I was national champ and I tore it up. And one of our guys who did judo with us, Karen Bourne, he actually just had a fight this weekend. He's still fighting, but he had a MMA fight. So we went and watched him fight, and he destroyed the dude, choked him out. I'm like, I could do that. I'm gonna give that a shot. So yeah, that was that. I gave it a shot, and yeah.
You've always been quite athletic. Were you always one of the stronger or faster people within the same year group as yourself?
I wasn't the strength thing didn't come about until wrestling, because we got into proper strength and conditioning program. But I grew up with 3 brothers, right? And so I was always fighting, and then like I said, sports was like how I let it go, right? I was either outside juggling a soccer ball, or I was at the basketball court, because I didn't have a good home life. So as soon as I got home from school, I just go to the park. I mean, and either with a soccer ball or a basketball, no one there or people there, it doesn't matter. It's just, I mean, and I love watching sports. I mean, growing up watching soccer from Trinidad, cricket and basketball, Jordan era. So it was just I was just always into sports, and I was athletic, genetically, and then having 3 brothers, I was always just competing all the time with them, either playing one-on-ones or fighting, so it was just inherent toughness and just, strong. Being the 3rd kid, it just.
I was gonna say, is it the John Jones? It's the John Jones effect.
Person you ever meet, right? It's good and bad. Like even if I'm reading, me and my wife are reading a book, and I try to read faster than my wife. And I can't keep up with her. But I'm just so competitive. It's just ingrained in me, right?
Wow. Even if it's like I don't know, something minor like a video game.
Yeah, man.
If you're getting your ass kicked in I don't know, UFC 5.
We went through maybe 10 Super Nintendos, at least 20 controllers, just breaking stuff, again, pissed off with brothers. Yeah, it was super competitive, right?
That's hilarious, man. That's hilarious. Hey, so you just switching up gears a little bit, Dwayne, yeah? You said you trained with Sam Alvey. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, Sam Alvey's wife won it's either MTV or some TV top model show. So she was a model, right? I don't know if she was his wife at the time or girlfriend, but then she came to Trinidad to do a big show in Trinidad. Because Carnival, like I said, models we bring models and stuff, and model scene in Trinidad is really really big, fashion. So she came down. Her boyfriend was Sam Alvey. So someone said he's down here. Sam Alvey, he's a fighter. I'm like, yeah, well, tell him come to the gym, and like, and everyone in Trinidad knows each other. So I like found out who was managing or whatever. So he came down to the gym, yeah, and he did some rounds with us. So he did some sessions, and it was good times, man. He's a great guy. He's super cool. He's humble. He's good vibes, man. And like, yeah, it was cool hanging out with him. Great opportunity training with him. He was doing it then, right? I think he was undefeated. He was like, I was also undefeated. But that's when like every time I got a chance to train with someone at a high level outside before I got to go to Brazil and Thailand and stuff like that. It was just a marker to know that I'm on the right track and that I can compete at this level, right? So it was just reassuring. All right, we had some good rounds. I mean that I can compete with these guys.
Yeah, definitely. People always clown him, for that seven fight losing streak, but he's fighting in the UFC, man, and he's not fighting like kind of bums or anything. He's losing against really top competition. But yeah, Sam's our Sam's story is that he came on the show when we were just nothing. So he's genuinely a nice guy. When you watch him on TV, you're like, is he genuinely that nice?
Yeah,
he's that nice based off that interview.
And they call him smiling for a reason. Right? He's always got that big, and it's like legit. Like that is his smile, right? Like it's fun. It's just funny. It cracks me up. He's a cool dude, man. Nice dude.
I thought I was smiling, man. Sam takes the biscuit. I even asked him, what would you do? So have a guess, what he'd said to this, yeah. I asked Sam, what would you rather pick? Yeah, would you rather pick never smiling again, or would you pick never watching combat sports? So you got to pick one. If you smile, you can never watch combat sports the rest of your life, and vice versa.
He can't help. He was gonna smile. He's gonna pick smile.
He says, "Oh fuck, no, I'm not watching combat sports." But that's too funny. You've also met with Petr Yan as well. Huge fan of Petr Yan. Tell me about that interaction.
Petr Yan this is before he got into the UFC, like right before. I just got signed to ONE FC, and he wasn't with anyone yet. But man, he didn't speak English very well, right? And I don't speak Russian, right? But the vibes we'd have lunch all the time together, every day together. We'd always be the first ones there to practice. Right? We'd always be shadow boxing, and we'd always doing like warmed up stuff together. And it was just that chemistry, like we like that synergy, like we were on the same level. Just like we were focused, we were in the zone, and we loved every second of it. You could tell, like, just being there in Thailand, just to get the opportunity to do this and do what I love, that like I was on top of the world. And you can tell the same thing with him, right? You can tell, like, I don't know his full story in the background, right? But you can just tell that he was just happy to be there, and he spent every second trying to get better, right? And his grappling was like, to be honest, like pretty horrendous at the time, right?
Oh, really? Was it not? I thought you were gonna say good.
No. Like, so, like, once you get, like, he was like a fish out. But every single class, I watch him get better. Every class,
he was terrible at it. That's crazy.
Yeah, every single class, he became harder and harder. His boxing was all like sick. He has really nice hands, right? But every single class, he got harder and harder to take down. Every single class, like, and you just watched him just grow in weeks, months. Like, so I'm no surprise that he got there and got to where he's at. And just his vibe, man. Like, you can just tell the people who just love it, you know what I mean? And just like, they appreciate the fact that they get to do what they love, right? Like, super cool dude, man.
And again, I'm being assumptive here, but he does come across like, if he fucks with you, he really fucks with you. He likes you. But if you don't like you, then it's like you'll see the no mercy.
Yeah.
Right? No?
Yeah, he's just a cool dude, man. And like, he's just funny too, right? He's just like, and you just had that nice smile about him, and just cool. Like I said, we would sit there and lunch, and even though, like, we watch someone hitting pads, I can watch him. We both watch each other hitting pads, and we just smile. And we know we spoke the same language. Like, either that guy sucks, or wow, that was a nice setup. Or, I mean, it's just like, you just tell that we had that bond, right? Like, it was super cool.
Yeah, 100%, man. So you mentioned a big fighter influence of yours, yeah, is George St. Pierre. Is he your favorite fighter of all time? Would you say he's the GOAT?
100% the GOAT, 100% my favorite fighter. But because Frankie Edgar was from New Jersey and I trained with Frankie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think for a while, Frankie was my favorite. But I try to simulate his style more, like Frankie's, because I like the head movement. I like to bounce around. But I didn't have the gas tank. No matter how fit I was, I just couldn't have the gas tank. So for like a year, or a year and a half, I kind of like simulated Frankie style more, even though I still use a lot of his setups for his takedowns and stuff like that. But eventually I went back to like more GSP style. You know what I mean? Where big and kind of GSP, and then um even the Iceman, like I like the overhand was my favorite punch going in. So I actually have like I name all my combos. So there's Dwayne 1, Dwayne 2, Dwayne 3, and they're all set up off the overhand. Anyone that
Yeah.
spars with me or whatever knows that the overhand's coming. And if you block the overhand, I got a nice backup plan for it.
Definitely, man. It's all about setups, isn't it? Yeah, that's crazy. That the overhand. I'm just looking back in it. I think that's one of the few techniques that would probably just work in MMA. I don't think that would work in other sports so much with the chuck the door overhand, right? No.
It works in boxing. It works in
Yeah. I guess it's just error, isn't it? You don't see it like the way Chuck did it. Damn.
yeah, and that's the way I did it, right? Kind of like falling over.
Yeah.
Without either, if for me, when I initially started off, it was just to get your hands up to get to your legs for a double leg or a single leg, right?
Yeah.
And then as I got more into Muay Thai and stuff like that, it's just like I'll pull the hand down to pull the, like, if you block hands up, I'll pull the guard down and go with a head kick over top. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of set it up. So it's it'd be jab, overhand, and then I started doing the uppercut. If you over high guard, then I'll throw the uppercut up the middle. All right. And so the Dwayne 1 is jab, overhand, takedown. Dwayne 2 is jab, overhand, head kick. Dwayne 3 is jab, overhand, uppercut.
Yeah. You're a really good trainer as well. I was seeing loads of videos as well. And I was like, damn, I need to start trying that on a heavy bag or something, or just kind of practice it. But there was one in particular. It was the setup of the spinning back elbow, which I thought was really particularly good. We'll clip it here. But is coaching and teaching something that you develop naturally, or you always a good teacher?
In high school, like we always like I had great coaches, right? I had really great coaches, and I've been coached. I trained, like I said, I trained in Brazil, trained in Thailand, in Russia, in England, the US, Canada. So I was fortunate to be exposed to a lot of great coaches, right? So, and every great coach has a little bit of their own style. So I just take what makes a good coach, what made them good, and try to implement it in my style. You know, and I just love learning, and I've been teaching like whenever you're in high school, you're asked to help with the younger ones coming up. So right, and when you teach, it forces you to think about a technique at a deeper level, and especially when you're teaching younger kids how to break it down. It's like such a simple level that anyone can understand. And so I've always enjoyed coaching and teaching, and like I said, like I just try to take what makes good coaches from other good coaches and try to make myself a better coach, right?
Yeah, you break it down perfectly for someone who's got ADHD like me. You break it down step by step. I'm like, all right, I'll do the first one and focus on that, and then I'll just do the other 4 steps after that. It's brilliant. I thought it was really good. So the series that you did, just going back to that, because I don't feel like we spoke about that enough. What kind of prompted you to do this whole series? Because it's a great series. Was it more just to kind of get your name out there a little bit, or again, is it just more educational, motivational? What was the purpose of it?
It originally started off as a business, right? Like because I'm working recreational, I was doing a lot of fitness. I transitioned a lot to do a lot of fitness coaching. So I was paying. I read a lot of Alex Hormozi's books, right? $100 million offers, Gym Launch Secrets, $100 million leads, and I was really transitioning more into like. So I was doing good as an individual. My whole thing is because I have young kids now. I wanted to stop working evenings, right?
Mhm.
And in our industry, you have mornings, you have evenings. Right? And before work, where you have like the really disciplined people who want to work out before work, and the evenings after work is when you have all your classes and after school and all that stuff. right? So it actually started off with a business, and I started paying for ads, and then I was like, more research and more I dug down the rabbit hole is like building a personal brand. There's a way for free advertising. So I'm like, so I'm gonna do 100 reels in 100 days to see if I can get something to stick, and then I can that way I don't have to pay for ads anymore. Paying 50, it adds up, all right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, if a reel got like 1,000 views, I'd be like, yes, I'm popular. People like me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking in terms of paid ads, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I have to pay $50 to get 1,000 eyeballs on an ad, all right, and it could be like not niche, not necessarily mean it's going to be people who want to get fit or so. Anyway, 89th one again. I was just making an ass out of myself, duplicating what I see. I'm putting my own spin on it, of course, right? So I like something. Then I saw this guy Joshua Ortiz, and he did like he was a trainer training somebody else. The first time I've been on Instagram for a long time, but first time ever, because I guess the algorithm is fed me it. First time I ever saw like a skit where a guy is like coaching himself. I'm like, hey, why don't I just do like a martial arts version of that? Yeah. And then I'll just do like my old coach, an old timer, and then I'll do teaching a kid, so a new me now teaching me then, right? And then I said 1,000 views, right? Like sometimes it take weeks for them to get 1,000 views, and then I went to bed. I always send it off to my one of my mentors, a guy who taught me about business growing up, like later on after I retired. And then one of my younger friends who was because they get two perspectives, and they're like, it's okay. Went to bed, woke up the next morning, got up, it was 1.1 million views.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, holy shit. I'm like, and then they just like kept growing, got up to like 6 million views, the comments were going off. And it's like, yo, I can do this forever. I can coach a million techniques, right? And then I like that. So I just 100 in 100 days, right? You'll find something that clicks, double down on it. I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be my new thing, my new story. I'm going to tell everything in story mode. And I knew that's how I was supposed to go. I just didn't know my story yet. And then, I just clicked off. And now, like, I went from like 3,000 followers to 145,000 followers in like 7 months.
Yeah.
And the business side of it, again, like the personal brand side is why I really wanted, right? Like, so now I don't work evenings anymore. Which is that's the reason why I did it, right? Because everyone in the local community knows me now, right? And I like, again, it comes down to business, right? Supply and demand, right? You become an authority, people are looking up to you. But then I started doing online products. Just a natural transition from exchanging your time for money to exchanging products for money, right? So now I sell my online box, of course, and also just now brand deals. I just got my first brand deal. I'm going to be getting more sponsorship, right, than I ever did as the number 4 fighter in ONE FC, the second big organization in the world, right?
That's madness. Yeah.
Right? So like, because it's all about eyeballs and recognition, and like what you can do for the brand. Like, they don't really care that you're a great fighter. It's like, wow, how they can profit or how you can reach their audience, right?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Dwayne, what's the secret, man? How did you get from this to this? Yeah. And now that I've done this for a bit, there is no fucking secret, man. It's literally, you just improve the quality of your videos until more and more people engage with your content. That's it. There's no secret, man. You just have to keep getting better, no?
Yeah, 100%. And when I looked at all the I'm obsessed, right? Like, same with my fighting career, right? Like, when I'm driving down the road now, it's just like I used to think of omoplatas and triangles and arm bars and how to transition. Now I think of LTV and lifetime value of a customer, and I think of marketing and sales and business. And I broke all the rules, right? Like when I first started, if you look at I leave all my old stuff up there so people can watch the transition, watch me.
Yeah.
So watch my old, it's embarrassing stuff, right? But you have to be willing to be embarrassed. And like, people think people care. Like, your friends might laugh at you for an hour, but then they go on their own lives, right? And like, no one really cares, right? Like, until
if they're good friends, they'll say, it wasn't that good, man. Maybe you should do this.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So
I was like, you should be making 5 to 15-second videos. You should be using trending music. So if you look at all my videos now, they're over a minute. I use my own music. I don't post, and like, people tell me you need to post every day. You need to post 2 or 3 times a day. No, I post 2 pieces a week and I'm making sure it's quality. And once I like it, I'm happy with it. I'll post it. You know what I mean? And it's just doing its thing, right? Because it's quality, right? Like, and we'll get value out of it. And I think what really stands out about the Old Timer series is like there's a lot of people like I'm still mind blown. Like even though some of those videos got 6 million views, my backwards break fall. I'm like, how am I ever gonna make this? It's got almost 200,000 views, right? Like over 6,000 people saved it. Over like 5,000 people shared it. It's like a backward break fall, like your most boring technique you could think of. You know what I mean? But you know, you can. I think why I stand out, it's because I do it in story mode, like knowledge-tainment, right? Like people don't have the extension fans. Like if you go at me doing research and like this, even though I know how to do a backwards break fall, just doing the research on it, it's like I listen to this guy talk for 8 minutes just to get one little cue that I'm looking for, right? Like foot place or something like that. So I think like you have the good music, you know what I mean? It's like it's a little funny, this relationship between the guys, right? So I'm showing you, but I'm not telling you, hey, this is how you do a backwards break fall. You're just watching the story, but you're learning at the same time. And I think that's what really make the Old Timer series stands out. From other people and why I've been having success I have and why it's been like blowing up. Because like I said, you can go watch a backward break fall on YouTube and it's gonna take you at least 8, 9, 10 minutes to see it, right? And I can do it in a minute, even though you can just replay it as much as you want until you fine tune each step, right?
And that's not to say that you don't have technical stuff out there, like really technical stuff. Like I saw, I mean, this is kind of the building blocks here for a question mark kick. And I thought that was great. Like it was kind of like you set up like a kick ups from Messi to, I can't remember the name of the video now, but yeah, that's the one. Yeah. I thought that was great, man.
For me, I'm like,
that's something you thought of yourself.
Yeah, because I'm like, I have a minute, right? I call it the actual technique build of itself. I give myself a minute, and then there's like the 10 seconds to 15 seconds of where it's just at the end where there's like I try to throw in little knowledge bombs, and then there's like at the end of it, I follow for more and all those cues at the end to be continued. So each one's between a minute 10 and minute 15 kind of. So I'm like, how do I explain that movement of like throwing the leg up, the instep and the outstep, in a few enough words for people to understand? I'm like, I can't. Like I sat there, it's boggling my mind, and then I'm just like, but you know what I mean? Like it is the reason I got good at it is because I come from a soccer background. I'm like, so let me think about how good the soccer skills. I'm like, well, the soccer ball, like, hey, the hacky sack, you know, like, that's it, all right? Like, so I can explain it by showing it through the hacky sack movement. It saves me a ton of words of bend your knee this way and hit with the instep, bend your leg that way, the outstep, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's a cool process too, right? I really enjoy it, and just being creative and right, showing my knowledge and expressing my knowledge in a creative way, right? It's fun, right? I mean, and people like I get criticized. It's just you and you. Like I would love for work with more people. I'll be able to do it a lot easier, but the time I get to do this stuff is like, I mean, at night. I do most of these reels like 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Once my family's asleep, everyone's in bed. My day's done. I go back to the gym. Luckily, the gym is like literally like a quarter mile from my house, so I can just walk up to there and open a gym. I'm like, okay, what technique am I gonna break down today, and like how am I gonna keep this story going? Right, so it's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What kind of advice would you give to fighters coming up the ranks now in terms of the long-term future after their fighting career? How would you say, you know what, think of these things before you go and call it a day?
All right, that's the next piece of this old timer series. All right, like right now I'm teaching everyone the techniques, the fun part of the journey. You know what I mean? And when you first start off, you're so obsessed, like it's fun, right? It's really, really fun. I mean, but the next side of this journey, which I'm gonna go more on YouTube with, because I think it's like it's gonna be a deeper subject, and it's gonna be it's not gonna be as entertaining. I mean, but it's more knowledge. It's gonna be more for fighters and specifically for fighters and up and coming combat sport athletes, any combat sport athlete, whether boxing or kickboxing or Muay Thai, and also personal trainers, all right, who are trying to stand out, all right. It's the business side of it. The business side of it. The most heartbreaking thing about this journey is I live a great life now. I'm in Florida now with my family. My business gym's still running in Canada. My gym's in Trinidad still running. Right. And I'm living really happy life, right? But 99% of the people who I started this journey with, who I've met on this journey, I mean, they're not in the same place. And I mean, they're like for every one person that makes it, there's 500 that don't. Like any professional sport, right? But the nice thing about even though I didn't make it, I've always had to work throughout my career. I had a lot of my clients when I went to personal trainers, they were business people. They taught me a lot about business. All right. So I was able to successfully transition, right, my skills, right, into a business, right, which a lot of fighters can't do, which is the next step I'm going to go into, right? Because so many people spend especially the younger ones, like when they start 15, 16, 17, 18, they're in it, they're chasing it, they're dreaming it. But then they get 20, 21 and life hits, all right? They got to pay rent, they got to pay bills, right? And they can't balance that lifestyle, right? They can't find that work-life balance, especially as competition levels get higher. You got to spend more time training to beat those people. So the double-ended sword, right? They don't have the business skills to be able to make money from their skills, right? So they spent 6, 7 years, and even like people like at the end of their career, they spent 10 years chasing a dream. They're not financially secure at the end of it, and they got to go and start a whole new job. A lot of times it's a dead end job. Like I said, one of my heroes, Chris Madrill from Trinidad, right? One of the top boxers coming up, right? He fought Deontay Wilder, you know what I mean? He was a Commonwealth medalist, and last time I saw him, he was no offense to this, right? I don't say this in any way negative or derogatory. He's working in a grocery store as a security guard. And that's where a lot of us end up, right? Either as a security guard or a balancer at the end, or working some dead-end job, because we can't use our skills in the real world, right? And even fighters coming up, they can't. The hardest part they're going to run into, I know that I'm telling you this, and the hardest part you're going to run into is balancing work and surviving and training, especially as you go high up the ranks, right?
Yeah.
And until you make it. So my next step is teaching people how they can use their skills to make a good living, right? So at the end of it, you know how to market, you know how to sell, you know how to build a brand. You can use your skills to actually live a rewarding, happy life, and not worry about where the next paychecks come from. And for fighters in it, right, you can use these skills to work maybe 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, get 1 or 2 clients, work with them. So you don't have to work bartending like I did, night shifts, or bounce and work all night and come back in the morning and train. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, and there is, I'm telling, people, it's hard and I get it, right? I will never tell anyone to not chase the dream. Chase the dream with everything you fucking got. You know what I mean? But, you know what I mean? You got to have in the back of your minds, you got to develop business sense, business skills, all right? And it took me, I'm still growing, I'm still learning, all right? Now, if I had the skills now growing up as a fighter, I wouldn't have to work at all.
Yeah.
I now make my biggest sponsorship deal as a nobody coach in the middle of nowhere, working with recreational clients, because I'm able to build a personal brand.
Yeah.
But a lot of people fighters, top fighters in the world, I have more followers than 90% of the UFC roster right now, right? I'm probably gonna have more sponsorship than 90% of them, right? Because the business side of it, right? Just learn marketing is a thing, sales is a thing, building a personal brand is a thing, accounts is a thing, right? And so spend all your time, you know what I mean, focusing on the technique, all apply stuff, right? But on your downtime, right? Look up sales skills, marketing skills, right? Building a brand, you know what I mean? So at the end of it, you know what I mean, you can use your skills to live in a good life, right?
Yeah,
so that's what the course is going to be about. I just started an email sequence, and I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I put them out there. I just haven't officially did until after education. Just business tips on a daily basis as a fighter. I mean, about building a brand, right? I mean, build structure in your workouts. About, I mean, sales of the process, having an onboarding process. You know what I mean? Just little tips you can do to help like yourself stand out and stick out.
100%. I don't understand why more fighters don't have online schools. You know, like when they're UFC fighter, for example, there's a lot of fighters out there that just don't even have their app, like a app or kind of an application or some kind of funnel, for them to train people online. I thought that's just that should just be a normal thing, no?
Yeah, but it's just remember they just don't have like for us, we're in it now, right? Like we're in, like I didn't know these things. Like you don't. I guess that if I ask you to put transition an armbar into a triangle, like you'd be like, what? That's where their head's at. That's what they know, right? They don't know about a funnel. Like you ask them like, what's a funnel? What's a landing page?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't know, right? So this is what I'm trying to do now. Like, and it's like for me, I'm calling it like the university for fighters, right? Like here, so you can chase your dream, right? But you don't have to worry about where the next check's coming from, right? And you don't have to worry. So when you approach sponsors now, you're not just saying, "Hey, I'm a top fighter and I'm coming up, sponsor me." I mean, 1,000 people are gonna see your wearing your logo on your shirt next week. They don't care. Like that doesn't mean they're gonna be their audience, right? But if you show them, yo, I have 25,000 people ages 18 to 25. You're a niche group, males. You know what I mean? In your area, all right, that's gonna see your video based on my metrics. That you know what I mean, that you look at my previous video, my history. You're reaching your audience. How much is that gonna cost you in ads? I know how much it's gonna cost you in ads. I did my research, right? So pay me half of what you're gonna pay them. You know what I mean? And then we're gonna let's get a deal done. Right? So do your research. I want to teach them all the skills and fast track it so you can go back and focus on in your omoplatas and your triangles and setting up your head kicks and your question mark kicks. Right?
Definitely.
So this is what I'm trying to do now is my way of giving back to them that next level for fighters. So like their business degree so they can use their skills outside of the ring so they can work with everyday people and be able to sell their products, show how knowing martial arts gives value, right? That's right.
And it's about finding value in themselves because like just a quick example, a few years ago, do you remember when Dana White was like Nate Diaz as a needle mover? So, they were kind of underpaying him. They weren't paying him very well, in fact, even a few years ago. And he had to find his own value. He had to fight for that value himself. And I don't feel like a lot of fighters don't do that, man. They never fight for their value.
Yeah, and then they're haters on people that do, like Cody Covington, like Jake Paul. These guys are they're running a business now, right? They're in the business. Like Cody Covington, he's playing that villain role perfect, right? Even though it comes with scars, but in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when he's retired and gone, we're not going to remember him, or we're not going to care, but he's going to provide for his family, right? So he doesn't have to be that extreme, you know what I mean? But it's you gotta start looking at yourself as a fighter as a business, right? Like there's a handful of people, literally a handful of people who are just gonna be able to do it on natural talent and be that soft-spoken, perfect, nice guy and make it to the top, right? But if you want to make money, you gotta find a way to tell your story and to stand out, right? To stand out.
100%, man, 100%. But Dwayne, one final question for you, and we love to kind of end it on this, but where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
5 years time. In 5 years' time, I want to have my gyms are going to be flourishing. I want to have an online product that's not just a boxing course, but for my university course for business fighters. And so that's going to be the top of the line. But I'm also hoping that the old timer series, like 5 years from now, has sparked or ignited that initial motivation for a top fighter in the world who went on to be like world champion. And like Nate Diaz is like Joe Rogan by day. Someone would be like, I started martial arts is because the old timer series. I watched that. I thought it was cool. It got me in the gym. And then I started my track, right? And so thank you to Old Timer series. So that's what it's about, right? It's just like I just want to ignite people, get that the Old Timer series, get that spark started, my motivation. Say as a coach, we educate, we motivate, we inspire, right? So that's what I'm trying to do out there with this series. I'm trying to build it, and then from there build it the deeper side of it, the university side of it, to the business side of things. And and then with AI, for 5 years from now, who knows what's gonna happen? And I'm a big AI junkie, so I really look into that stuff a lot. So the world could be a completely different place by then.
100%, man. I might be talking to a Dwayne AI robot, isn't it? You know, we'd
100%.
be doing the whole interview and it'd be some Black Mirror type-esque thing, man.
100%. I'm looking into the robo rule. It's a robot with AI. It's a rolling dummy, but it has AI in it. So when you choke it out, it's like fatality or tap.
That's a good one. I like that.
It's actually out there, right? So look out. Look out for the old time.
No way.
I'm moving to the ground game. I'm looking into different things that's going on in the ground for instead of using the heavy bag. So look out. You might see it on the old timer series soon.
I was even thinking this now that you mentioned it. Wouldn't it be good, if you can measure the amount of force, from an elbow to your jaw, like to the jaw or the temple, and maybe you can kind of work out whether the dummy is unconscious, so you can start practicing knockout shots.
Yeah, right now, the ones I'm looking at, it has all the break-in limbs. So when you break the limb, it actually cracks. You have to put enough pressure on the ankle lock to actually get it to break, and you hear the breaking sound, and the dummy actually it makes a noise like
That's cool.
And then if you have a choke on and you don't get it on the artery, it doesn't tap. And then if you get it like on the artery, it's just enough. You might just say tap a little bit. But if you get it right on the artery and you do the application right, it actually says fatality. Like it's so cool. So look out for it.
I'm gonna have to check that out, man. But Dwayne, thank you so much for coming on the show. Freaking awesome guest, man. We'll definitely do this 100% again. But look, the final word goes to you, Dwayne. Tell the folks where they can find you. Plug anything you like to plug. Go for it, Dwayne. It's your spotlight.
Just look out Dwayne Hinds MMA on Instagram. That's where I do most of. That's where you can find the old timer series. That's where you can find me. You follow me on Facebook as well. Just Dwayne Hinds, just boring Dwayne Hinds. But someone else got 60,000 followers from 0 to in last 3 weeks. But anyway, Dwayne Hinds anywhere. Google Dwayne Hinds. But Instagram is where I really I spend most of my time. Where you see pictures of my family and stuff.
Hey, okay?
Yeah.
These cameras there.
So Dwayne Hinds on Instagram, and anything from there, you'll find all the other networks and what's going on from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dwayne, man. You're the man.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to following you and seeing you have some top guests, and we should do this again.
Man.